All right, get your lighters up. We are live. What's going on, guys? Back at it again with my guys, my boys, Maximus Crypto, Rule Black Podcast, the Crypto Rule Podcast. What's going on, guys? How you guys doing tonight, man? It's Thursday night. I'm feeling good. Jack stacked and fanny packed. Let's go.
Triple threat. Woo! Let's go.
Glad to be back with you guys for sure.
Got a little out of hand there.
Your sound effect sounded the best, in my opinion.
That's what she said.
Your sound effect, Rob, was pretty spot on with that one. So
Let's go, baby. All right. So big things happening this week, guys. Crazy pump. What the heck happened there? We had a short squeeze take place after Trump said, yeah, no, you know what? We're going to use this, what's it called? The Strait of what again? What's the name of it again?
Hormuz.
Hormuz, yes.
Yep.
So Iran saying you're not going to be using the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump comes out that morning and says, yeah, no, we're going to still, bro. What are you going to do about it, right? And market's pumped as a result, right? So what do you guys think? We had that crazy action. We had a crazy big spaces from Zebek that happened this week as well that we're going to get into. I'm very excited about some of the stuff I heard there. Rue, I know you're just chomping at the bit to dive into that, man. I could see it in your eyes, brother. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, like everything you said is like spot on. Oil popped over like $80 a barrel in the U.S. for the first time in like, I think it was 13 or 14 months. So even though Trump says we're going to use the strait, people are still scared, and oil has hiked up there. It kind of starts the Jay Claver domino theory, if people are kind of interested and know what that's all about. But all of that should lead to a very expensive Zebek, a very expensive XRP. But the Zebek spaces was very, very encouraging. I'd love to talk some more about that, like Simon and how he said that he wants to kind of get rid of fragmentation in the market. I know a couple of different companies have said that, but now
Quant Network, ding, ding, ding.
There we go, Quant. Like I know XRP, I know Garlinghouse has said that too. But now Simon has said, first to the market with a complete fintech app. And one of the things that I heard him say that was very encouraging was that, hey, we want to take some market share away from banks. And he said that just straight out, right? There was no lack of confidence with that. He was really like serious about that. So
we're coming for it.
Yeah, we're coming. We're coming, brother. We're coming, brother.
Well, that was the thing I wanted to mention is I know you guys got a lot that you want to share in regard to the Zebek, but I also want all three of our communities to realize that we are going to connect all of this, right? We're going to have awesome conversation with everything that's going on and recognize some of you guys in the comments, so consider smashing the like. You guys know the drill. Thanks so much for being here. We'll start off with Rob and the Crypto Future 99 community. We'll circle around to Maximus Crypto as well as Rue Black with the Rue crew. But thanks so much to everyone who's here with us on this wonderful Thursday evening. It means a lot to us, guys. So, yes, sir.
Whoa. First up. Happy birthday to Kitten Chop's mom. There you go. I don't know which one of your channels she is subscribed to, but shout out to her. Happy birthday. Your dog is adorable. I'm a dog guy myself, so I may need you to give me your dog. So
well, Kitten Shops, that's over from Maximus Crypto. So yes, happy birthday to Kitten Shops' mom. Thanks for being here, and we do wish you all or especially you, a very, very happy birthday. And thanks for dropping by, especially on your birthday. How cool is that? I mean, we must be doing something right if you're dropping by on your birthday.
Amen to that. Yes, shout out to Dave, Ben, what's going on? What do we got here? Christopher, Oil in Japan's up over 20% since the Iran conflict began. Yes. I want to give a couple more shout outs. Elon Musk, of course. We cannot forget the legendary.
Literally the godfather of ISO 222 content on Maximus Crypto. Everybody, through everything, had somebody that introduced something that was crypto related to one of you. And the guy that introduced Quant to me and XRP, well, I knew about XRP, but I didn't know it to the degree that he knew about it. But he definitely was the guy that turned me on to Quant. So big up to Elon Musk.
Yes, Elon Musk is definitely the man.
You and that pause.
H. Barbarina in the house. Green Tea! We got Squirtle in the house. Good to see you, Green Tea. Anybody you guys want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the guys over on Maximus Crypto. Thanks so much. Luke says, I am late. We're all late. You said just kidding. Let's see here. I gotta be careful how I pronounce that. So I'm Negan. Okay, 3:45. TikTok. I'm gonna fall asleep in about 10. Oh no, that's not good. But anyway, welcome. Iron Man XRP. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you. Of course, obviously Mike, aka Elon Musk in the house. He says he represents. Listen to this. Muffican Americans. I cannot. It's hilarious. Anyway, so shout out to all the Mufficans. We got Greg Ballou and his whack ass crew who got connections. Get that ass stuck like glue. Welcome, Greg Ballou. Shout out to the Rue crew. Gonna give a few more shout outs before we start. We also want to welcome Christopher. He says oil in Japan. It's up over 20% since the Iran conflict began. Okay, great pointing that out. We also have XRP Hefe, man. I'll say it like that. Insurance companies will stop the movement of oil. Very expensive to move through the strait. Thank you for that.
Mike. Don't
shout out to Shook Focus Digital.
Hey, Shook, yes.
Yeah, shout out to King Pound 1. Shout out to Phantom Beat. Shout out to the whole Root crew in here. Let me see if I missed someone.
Shout out to Fridge. Would rather watch paint dry than watch Jake talk XRP.
Dang, wow. Fridge. Shots fired. There, Jesus. Let's see. Shout out to Christopher George Media. Shout out to Dreamer. 320. Patreon crew in the house.
Also, just want to give one more shout out. I want to thank John. He says thanks to you guys for all your research, life changing. Hey, appreciate that. Also want to give a big shout out to one of the OGs in the space, the one and only Mr. Cool Cat Crypto, aka Cool Cat Cosmos, aka Warcat Crypto. Yeah, you think I forgot about that? Good to see you, Cool Cat.
Shout out to Rix299. Shout out to Mr. Baby Ears E. Shout out to E in the house, moderator at Telegram, and shout out Gerald Draper in the house. Shout out Rue Crew, everybody showing up. I really appreciate it, guys. Shout out to USA Against the World, and yeah.
Kitten Chop says, "What do you expect Quant to be at full? Or what do you expect Quant to be at full capacity?" When it's time, I can see about $1,000 to $1,500 quant in its when it's in its peak and it's operating.
Jeez, man, smoothly. That is so low in my opinion, but that's okay. I appreciate your honesty and your conservatism.
I like to be conservative because you don't want to put expectations too high. So I'd rather shoot low and it goes higher because you'll be happy then, right?
Right, kind of like a loan officer doing closing costs. He says it's going to be $4,000 in closing costs, and then you find out it's going to be $2,000, and then the person's happy, right?
Exactly. Christopher says rumors that Elon Musk is trying to buy Ripple for $25 billion. How much? I mean, Ripple has how much money just in escrow and XRP alone? Do you really? I really don't see a world where Ripple sells for $25 billion, considering what they're going to be worth in the future.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that at all. Like, knowing what they're trying to do as far as like being kind of like the infrastructure for the central banks, like, what? Why would you? Why would you sell for him? Like, Rob saying to for such a low price? Nah, absolutely
Yeah.
not.
New member for one of you guys, K Lopez, over on one of your
That's over at
channels.
the Rue Crew. Rue,
There you
go for
go.
it.
Shout out to you, Kay Lopez. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Appreciate the support, guys. The support's awesome, right? Especially when the market's down. To
Yes,
see everybody
indeed.
coming out and watching the content and sending the super chats and joining our private communities and stuff. That's why we keep doing what we're doing, guys. That's why we keep doing the deep dives, keeping you guys informed, because now is the most important time to be informed, right? Because now is where the opportunity is. The opportunity is not when everything's green and pumping and going parabolic. You've missed the opportunity already at that point. So, yeah, Dream says, hey, fellas, Max, loving your latest YouTube video on Hedera. Boom shakalaka.
Thanks. The analytics showed that that video performed very, very badly, and I was kind of wondering about that, but it is what it is. Maybe I'm wearing people out with the documentary style videos, but I'm glad that you do appreciate it, and thanks for being here, Dreamer. You've been an OG in this space for sure. Good to see Selma Flood as well, watching from X. He's definitely an OG in the space since 2022. In fact, since my first stream, there was only two guys there, and he was one of the two guys. So good to see you, Selma. Appreciate you, man.
Jake Quartz says, dig y'all's work sure saves me some research time. That's what we do, man. Thank you so much for the recognition. Absolutely.
Yep.
Uh, Maximus, can you guys do a deep dive on XEP Electra Protocol? Personally, I've never heard of it. I don't know if you guys
No.
There's a guy that in my community talks about it a lot. I did a little research on it. It is a ISO 20022 coin. They do have some follows from some other ISO projects. So pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Maybe something we want to look at. Maybe this is a person from my community. I don't recognize the screen name, but I know a couple people in my community have mentioned it.
You
have.
posted that over Maximus Crypto. You know, I get a lot of requests to cover a lot of stuff, and there's only so much time in a day. But I mean, that itself for Rue to mention the whole thing ISO 222, there might be something there. Maybe there's not. I'd be curious to see, the liquidity there. All the above, the tokenomics, et cetera, et cetera. Because I mean, there are projects, right, that are right in front of us. Like I know that Rob, you're kind of bullish on things like Linea.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe long term for me, I guess is where we kind of agree to disagree. But I think we all agree, currently speaking, the tokenomics on something like that kind of suck right now.
Yeah.
So I would want to look more into specifically like how much of the coins or tokens are in circulation and how many can be minted, what's the max supply, all the above.
So for days, XRP says smash a like and subscribe. Yes, it's absolutely free to
Silver
do, guys.
Days, what's up?
Do you think the Clarity Act will get delayed in light of recent geopolitical tensions? Well, I mean, not so much because of that, but from what I was reading earlier today, apparently the banks have rejected the latest proposal from the White House. So it's not a surprise. I think the biggest delay is really the banks, not really the geopolitical stuff over in the Middle East. You guys got any thoughts on that? No.
I hope it doesn't get delayed. That's always a possibility. But the way it seems that everyone's talking about it, it's like very much in the news. And the way it seems like the Zebek is setting everything up, it's kind of setting it up for everything to be done in April with the or by the end of April with the Clarity Act. So I hope that's the case.
Yeah, Elon Musk says $100,000 quant is nothing. Hey, I'd take that for $1. I'm not going to argue with you there, brother.
I do have some thoughts on some of this stuff, but I thought we would just get into what we actually have, other than just, me share my opinion. I mean, I do have some opinions, but I actually want to share with you guys what's going on like today, like literally reported just like maybe an hour or two ago.
Yeah, I'm just trying to recognize.
No, I know, but that you asked me, and that's my reaction. I'd rather just us. We'll do a nice little panel discussion about that. Anyway.
We'll jump back into the chat shortly. April's going to be insane in the membrane. Nice.
Right? Insane. Got no brain. Cypress Hill.
All right, Max. Well, since you're so eager, let's go, buddy. Let's go. What do you got for us, man?
All right. Well, shout out to all the eager beavers out there. What we're going to do first is basically share this. It's, again, this concept. And shout out to Elon Musk on this. I did review the material, and I thought it was very well written. This guy who did this thread on it. So I'm going to do my best to present it to you guys in a way that we could all understand, and of course have a panel discussion on some of this, because we're going to even tie it into the World Liberty financial side, get into some of the Zebek side of things. So again, we just ask you to kindly hit that like. Hey, River, good to see you, man. Really appreciate you being here. All right, so for one, let's pull this up. And this is going to start off with X. I want to give this guy also a shout out. Now we're always giving people shout outs, but there's nothing wrong with doing that. We see here, basically speaking, this comes from a guy named GC Cookie. He points out Trump is running the most dangerous geopolitical blitz since Bretton Woods. Now, my main thing is this. Are we now on the cusp of Bretton Woods 3.0? I literally see it all right in front of me. I've been covering this a lot with numerous people, collabs and so on. I do agree at the end of the day, the end game isn't just like a trade war. There's a theory circulating around that Trump is running a far more ambitious play. I personally agree with this. Hear me out. One designed to collapse BRICS. Some people will say nope. There's people here right now saying nope, that we are going to join in a particular BRICS alliance. I don't agree with that. Hear me out. Would this force China's hand? Would it lock in dollar dominance for decades? It's bold, it's speculative. Yes, very speculative. I don't have the answers, but I'll pay attention to this. And whether you buy it or not, the underlying moves are worth paying attention to. So, number one, we already saw the whole thing with Venezuela. So, let's recognize it. The U.S. moves on Venezuela's oil, lithium, gold, rare earth reserves, not for regime change, true, for resource control. China has quietly relied on Venezuelan oil to sidestep sanctions for years. That lifeline gets cut first. Now, I know immediately in the comments, you guys are going to be dropping your thoughts on that. By all means, please do. Number two, where Rob is at, Canada. Hear us out. I definitely want to get Rob's take on this here in a bit after we get into a little bit more of this. So Canada, this one's less dramatic, but arguably more important. Canada deepens its alignment with Washington, offering diplomatic support, intelligence sharing, and strategic basing access. It's not that Ottawa becomes a puppet, it's that North America starts operating as a single economic and security bloc in a way we haven't seen since World War II. That kind of continental unity sends a message that's hard to ignore. All right, what's happening right now within literally the last few days? Iran. We have here, with Venezuela compromise, China pivots to Iran for oil. Predictable. That's when the United States and Israel escalate, strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, command infrastructure, and oil facilities. China's backup energy source disappears. Now, listen, I'm not going to do this big old long thing, but I just want you to hear me out a little bit more. Now enter in Russia, step 4. Here's where the theory gets really interesting, and hopefully you are paying attention. And if you just connected, you can always rewind it. It gets controversial. The argument is that back channel deal is already taking shape. Russia is increasingly squeezing and looking for off-ramps. Begins redirecting energy exports toward Western markets out of self-interest, not friendship. But in return, Moscow gets energy revenue, guarantees, and a pathway back to the global trading system. Canada, on the other hand, with its existing Arctic and energy ties, becomes the diplomatic bridge. That sounds very controversial, but hear me out. The result is North American Russian energy alignment that removes China's last major source of leverage. And if anything, think about where Greenland is positioned, and does this not equate into a greater geopolitical mix, if you will? The end game, as it says here, BRICS loses its economic foundation. Beijing cuts off from reliable energy and geopolitical allies, is forced to negotiate to American terms, including purchasing U.S. debt and favorable rates. Now, for me, when I hear these terms about purchasing debts, I think the pathway forward, what would be the debt instruments? You know where I'm going with that, especially when it comes to on-demand liquidity, et cetera, et cetera. But the dollar gets controlled, or gets a controlled reset with gold as the backstop, which everybody in this space has been talking about this for literally years now, is getting old at this point. But where are we at right now? And the global financial system recenters around Washington. And look what it says here. And this is where we're going to have some discussion, because I want you guys to tune in more for this. I don't want to read the whole thing. It's Bitcoin and the stablecoin layer. Energy price spikes and defense spending floods capital into risk assets. Like literally everything that we've been covering for years now. Bitcoin pushes past 200K. I know that sounds nuts, but some people are in alignment with this. Then comes the executive orders, a strategic U.S. Bitcoin reserve funded by seized assets and energy windfalls. But the piece most people are sleeping on is stablecoins, which we'll totally get into that, especially with like even World Liberty Financial and some of these other things. But yes, every United States dollar peg stablecoin moving forward or across borders reinforces American financial infrastructure without a single new branch. Now, shout out to the whole crew here. Myself, Rob, Rue, we covered recently the whole thing of USAT. And I would encourage everybody to look more into that, because at the end of the day, this is supposed to be Tether's solution of how they're recognizing that, look, with regular Tether, USDT, we're kind of non-compliant. But then out of nowhere, USAT. And we know about the ties of Bo Hines and his background to the Trump administration. We know about Cantor Fitzgerald. And it's like all these guys are in bed with each other. We even have Anchorage Digital, which we'll talk a little bit more about that. Again, the overlap even with Zebek, the overlap even with XDC. But do you find it interesting, this geopolitical shakeup and how this could scale to create demand shock? For me, I would agree with this statement. Stablecoins don't just survive a reset like this. They become the rails it runs on. And of course, there's a whole sequence. I encourage you to look more into this. I'm going to go ahead and share this and repost this. But Rob, I do want to get some of your take on this before we continue, because we saw, of course, the whole Canadian side of things. Who more to give comments on the matter than somebody who's lived there his whole life? You.
Well, I mean, I feel like with all of that geopolitical, with the geopolitical situation being what it is, I feel like I'm looking at I just opened a drawer, like a wool drawer. You know, when you were younger and you open up your grandmother's or your mother's wool drawer for, balls of wool or whatever, and it's just a disaster. Everything's tangled all over the place, and that's how I feel the political landscape is when it comes to Canada, the U.S., Russia, China, everything going on, Iran, and I feel like I like everything that you said, but I feel like a lot of it was oversimplification. It's going to take a lot of work to make that stuff happen. And coming from Canada, I can tell you that our political landscape right now and our economic landscape are a disaster right now. With Trudeau finally out, you had that guy walking around. You and I have had conversations about this. You literally had crowds of people throwing rocks at him, for crying out loud, right? It hasn't gotten any better with liberals continuing to be in power. So, you've got the problem with Carney now apparently talking with China, and that's got Trump all pissed off, right? So I feel like, and I know that those aren't directly what you asked, but those all play parts in everyone working together to make these things happen, right? And I think that there's a lot of stuff that's got to take place for any of that stuff. First of all, liberals got to go in Canada. Trump just straight up does not respect the Canadian leadership of our government right now, and rightfully so. right? As a Canadian, I can tell you rightfully, so we don't either. So I don't expect him
Well,
to,
I
right?
want to interject something real quick, and that is we just talked about this off camera, I think the other night.
Yeah,
Ryu, you're welcome to chime in on this as well. So, to our audience here, I cover a lot of the conferences that the IMF has done, even the WEF, and consistently, right, over the last many years, I would say 4 years plus, we have seen your new Prime Minister, Mark Carney,
yeah,
at all of these. Why? Because he is an ex-central banker for the Bank of England. I was
yeah.
blown away, you guys. I just learned about this a week ago that Mark Carney, an ex-central banker, is literally the new Prime Minister of Canada. I mean,
Yep.
Rue and I were talking about this. It would be like Christine Lagarde all of a sudden replaced Gavin Newsom in California as far as being the governor. People would be like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, are you serious right now? An ex-central banker is new head of your entire country. So to me, when we go back to the whole thing of this geopolitical spirit of things and the greater scheme of things, it's like, yeah, okay, I can see why there's some tiff going on. But anyway, Rue.
Well, the thing I kind of worry about a little bit, of like, there's a lot you mentioned there. The thing for me the most is like the reverse carry trade. If we get that and that unwinds, maybe we can have something happen with XRP. And all of that's having to do with the war and everything. But as far as the U.S. with resources, I could name stocks right now where they're mining and like mineral stocks in Alaska where for political red tape we're not mining them right now. So I think it's fine that we're fine as far as resources go, but when you look at all Project Stargate and all the stuff they're trying to build for AI and all this AI compute, well, now you have a compute problem. Now you have a precious metals problem because, well, they need all of that for AI. And I've been like recently really on standing up on the soapbox for AI and agentic AI as far as how it's going to make a change in the world here coming up very, very soon. So I can see that there's probably a need for these precious metals and these resources for all these different data centers, but these are going to be needed worldwide, not just in the U.S. And like I said, the reverse carry trade. Let's see how that happens because it seems like Trump very much has connections with XRP. And you see that Trump very much has connections with World Liberty Financial. He owns part of it, but of course, he also has those connections with Zebek, and Zebek has connections with XRP. So you're kind of in that same loop. So basically, it's going to benefit the Trump administration. It's going to benefit Donald Trump's family personally for him to make sure that XRP moves forward and XRP has a high price. So that's something we should probably expect because it's going to make the Trump family more wealthy.
I just wanted to kind of touch on something else too that Max you talked about, and that is that when we talk about the bonds and we talk about Bitcoin treasuries and stuff like that, what'd you call it? Presidential order. What was it called? I'm having a brain fart here. The executive order, right? It's just that everything he tries to do as well, especially if they lose the midterms, he becomes kind of like a lame duck president at that point, right? And that's kind of the direction we're moving right now. I mean, you are already seeing Congress fight him for the most part. I mean, yes, the left. I don't want to talk left or right, but they fight him on everything. Let's just cut through the crap cake here. And if he tries to do something like that, he already talked about how they said they were not going to use. There's another layer to it too, as we unpeel this onion, is that they said they were not going to use taxpayer money to buy Bitcoin and crypto for a U.S. reserve, crypto reserve, right? Because what happened when they first mentioned it, there was like this uproar of people saying, "You're not spending my tax money to buy Bitcoin," and blah 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 blah, right? So there's a lot of layers to this that have to be kind of schmoozed over, so to speak. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. But I think it's publicly that they have to do it because they've given crypto such a bad name. Like I think they have to engineer a situation in which the public will be like, okay, well, yeah, use crypto, use whatever you need to do to make everything okay. And maybe that's the reverse carry trade.
You mentioned the whole thing of like all these people pointing out what's wrong with. Go ahead. Sorry.
I thought you guys would read that. It's funny because we give Rue a hard time about his internet all the time.
Oh yeah, it's because where he's at, it's that building. It's everybody's
Yeah,
connection fighting against everybody else's connection. But
it blocks everything. And here I had a new Chrome available that I haven't uploaded yet. So maybe that's it too. But yeah, I know, guys. I know. But believe me, I got the highest one that my apartment complex will give me.
Sorry, Max, you were saying something.
But
well, I was just gonna point out, Rue pointed out like they give crypto a bad name, consistently. Like who is they? Well, we know who they is. What should be stated is kind of like what I covered this morning. All right, so this morning I was exposing a little bit more of AI. Basically, ChatGPT was caught lying and basically using humans seriously to commit these things with the captchas. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Like line up this jigsaw puzzle with that jigsaw puzzle, or how many fire hydrants are in the picture. Everybody should know about captcha now. But literally, like it manipulated an actual human being, like in a call center somewhere else, claimed that it was blind, and did that manipulation. But nobody wants to point that out. People just want to focus on the crypto side of things. So anyway, my point was that there was clear manipulation going on from the AI side. And the point I was trying to get across, other than just bringing people like an awesome intro, was look, which blockchains and DLT are combating like these bad things in AI. And we consistently saw some things from Hedera, with what is referred to as verifiable compute. Again, you have to have immutable ledgers, and you have to have governance models, et cetera, et cetera. So I put a lot of focus on Hedera because they have this thing. It's literally called AI Studio. And then I found an update recently when it comes to XDC, and there's a particular thing that they're doing. But even with Hedera, like they have an operating system too. I know Quant has obviously the Overledger operating system, but it's an AI operating system. So what really stood out was, again, which ones are combating some of this stuff. Even Quant Network, right? And then, of course, I did an honorable mention to Bitensor Tau is definitely leading the charge. You even have some ICP. And there was another project, Render, kind of addresses that. And even Jasmine with Janction actually has that as well. But anyway, if you guys are cool with it, maybe we should take just a small pause, as Rue would say, recognize some of the comments. What I would like to do now is, after we do that, to connect a little bit more of this topic, because just a few hours ago, we have Eric Trump, who made a very clear statement, at least according to him, on this whole talk about what the big banks are doing. He specifically calls out JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and it's the correlation, the overlap, obviously, with stable coins, banking, et cetera, et cetera. And I have some new recent news that I would like to get into as well on how we tie this into the Clarity Act, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm also going to share some of the research that you pointed out earlier today, Rue, where you were talking about how Uphold with USD interest account is FDIC insured. So we're going to tie it all into you guys. So we really have a great program for you guys still. So thanks for being here. Really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. You cannot go wrong with HBAR. I agree. Texas Stock Exchange going live in July. That's right. Can't forget about that as well. Max, your content is lit. There you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Rise Above.
As for me personally, guys, I don't know about you, but I don't like doing price predictions that far into the future. You're literally just pulling numbers out of the sky when you do that, right? There's no way to know. There's so much stuff that can happen between now and then that could affect the price of the project. So it's a little bit too far out for me. HBAR is taking over e-commerce, XDC trade finance, XLM banking, the unbanked XRP, the new quantum internet of value. Quant holds it all together. Very nice comment.
Yes, I would agree with that. And just spontaneously, I want to share this real quick. Won't take that long. I did, I think, retweet this over on Maximus Crypto. Let me just double check that real quick. Maybe I didn't.
While Max is double checking that, I'd say also HBAR is taking over the whole carbon credit economy, with energy and things like that. With what they got going on with Dovu, it seems like they're really heavy in the carbon credits and the energy. And if you look at some of their board members, they're all like energy companies. So
Yeah.
So early today on the Patreon, I did a write up on this, and to me, it's kind of spot on. When I saw this, just to give you guys a heads up, this was posted this morning, really early this morning. Quant Network came out with this whole thing about programmable liquidity, and for me, I said to myself, like, guys, come on, all this stuff is complementary. It's not one to just dominate the others, but in reality, I mean, we can look at the ones that would dominate in liquidity, right? So I'm thinking to myself, like, we already studied quant. We know what quant's going to do, numerous things. But when you see the terminology, literally right here, programmable liquidity, I was thinking, okay, how can this complement things like XRP with on-demand liquidity? So I did a write-up about this, obviously on the Patreon. Got a little kind of deep into it. But from what I gathered with a real actual document, I pulled up a PDF, and in the PDF, there was specific mention about XRP. So it's clear cut to me that the two will do their thing. I wish I had the demo available, but if you guys seen some of my recent videos, we do have examples of Quant's Overledger demo. I think it's Overledger 2.0 to be exact. And literally the lady who speaks out loud shows the demo of the Overledger connecting to the XRPL. And again, you're not going to settle with the ERC20 token. That's just used as a skeleton key to open up into like a giant suite of products, right? In this case, APIs and so on. But no, it shows for RTGS, real-time gross settlements, you're connecting to XRPL. So then again, that dominant settlement layer. So programmable liquidity, again, think about everything that's going on in the world right now, right? Like you have other countries saying, hey, we're going to get behind this particular standard. And again, I shared a picture with you guys recently where it shows Gilbert Verdian with the ISO TC307 standard working groups, all of them, right? Like there's probably over 100 people in this room. Well, you know, this one working group does this working group represents Japan, et cetera, you know, England, all these other countries, all these other regions and so on. So again, programmable liquidity, yeah, you better believe the two are going to work together. They already have, and Gilbert Verdian literally pointed this out years ago in his presentation about the quant overledger, and gave everybody the story of how we went from like things like CompuServe and AOL to trying to create a less fragmented world. Literally those terms, back to what Rob was saying earlier with fragmentation, or Rue, when you're talking about fragmentation earlier in our live stream.
I was expecting Rue to respond to that, but yes, I agree. Absolutely. I'm just going through some of the comments here. Buy Bitcoin and hold. Do you guys research HTS? Either of you guys hear about HTS from Hedera's ecosystem?
Yeah, Seal. Yep, I covered that. I recently covered that on Patreon. I think about maybe a month ago, give or take. But yes, Seal SQ. That's what we're referring to, and then there's some other projects as well.
yeah,
Yes.
I know that about that. I believe it's a stock that's publicly traded on the market. It kind of spin off from Wise Key, I think it was, or Wise. I'm
You're
not.
right. You're right.
Yeah, I'm not too fond of it because that spin off, like, it was really kind of unexpected and it kind of diluted Wise Key a bit. So I'm high on Hedera, but I don't know how high I am on Seal.
I'd have to look a little bit more into it, but guys, that is why you want to be part of our private communities, our VIP Patreon communities, because we drop these gems early, right? We talk about these projects that not a lot of people are talking about. I've got 3 more that I'll be dropping in the near term over on the Patreon myself, because we get it early. Just a segue into Zebek. I feel like we've been talking about Zebek for almost 2 years now, right? When nobody was talking about it, right? And it just exploded, man, right? And all three of our communities have benefited greatly from being in early on these projects like that, right? So it's definitely better. You don't want to get into a project, guys, after it's done a 500-600% run, right? Especially when it's got the potential of something like Zebek, right? I mean, if you guys, I'm fine. I'm looking to segue into Zebek if you guys are fine with that at this point. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the spaces that they had done, talking about the super app and stuff. Unless Max, you have some more to go first.
It's just it kind of connects it to the Zebek side of things, so it's not super long if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I think you'll both like this, especially Rue, because I'm gonna cite some of his research. You have some really great research that you posted.
He hangs up on you immediately.
Well, that's all right. He can come back at some point. Nonetheless, though, we do want to share this. So, whether you guys are a fan of them or not, again, I'm not trying to make it political. I'm just trying to reference some things to make it kind of flow nicely. But you see here, Eric Trump pointed out on this one, it wasn't a few hours ago, it was actually yesterday, but we'll share some ones that were literally a few hours ago. Eric Trump says, let me make this very clear. Big banks, think JP Morgan, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, etc., are lobbying overtime to block Americans from getting higher yields on their savings. We've been covering this so much, right? Everybody in the whole crypto world is covering all this stuff, right? Like, we can't get to clarity because the war of TradFi with the threat of what crypto is doing with stablecoins. So it says, while trying to block any rewards or perks from being given to consumers or customers, these banks and others pay rock bottom rates on standard savings, often 0.01% to 0.05% APY, even as the Fed pays them 4% or more. That is true. This massive spread fuels record profits, with almost none passed back to their customers / everyday depositors. I would agree. Today, the banks are desperately targeting crypto and stablecoins, where platforms plan to offer 4 to 5% yield or rewards. The ABA and other lobbyists are spending millions trying to ban or restrict those yields via bills like the Clarity Act, crying, quote, fairness, and using words like stability, when it's really about protecting their low rate monopoly and preventing deposit flight. Even Jeremy Allaire from Circle, that we recently covered when he was over at the World Economic Forum back in January, pointed out that he felt as though all of it is absurd, literally quote unquote absurd. He says, or back to Eric Trump, excuse me, this is anti-retail, anti-consumer, and straight up anti-American. I would agree with that. Again, put the politics aside. These are true statements. Next time you see a big bank dropping billions on a shiny new Midtown Manhattan headquarters, you know exactly where that money comes from, the non-existent interest rate they, quote, pay you. Fortunately, the big banks are losing this fight as customers wake up to the games. And notice, Rob or Rue or whoever is here currently, he, of course, puts World Liberty Financial, and that's where I was going to have Rue come into this.
I'm here.
Even his own research. Okay, great. So I'm literally sharing on the screen your research. Let's come back in the frame for a second. Okay, so I don't even need to explain this. You're here, and I did feel as though at least this part I will read. You pointed out literally early today with this, which was well written, my friend. So kudos to you on that. You state that, first of all, Uphold Inc. USD interest account is FDIC insured. You obviously share this whole thing of, what's her name, Maria from Fox News. But if anything, to me, based off of everything we shared today, mentioned the Clarity Act, Eric Trump's statements, I don't know if you caught that little brief bit, but this all adds up, and you literally shared probably one of the best examples. So we are going to talk about World Liberty Financial. We're going to talk a little bit, again, with what Rob was saying about the Zebek side of things. This is how we kind of bring it all in together, make sense of it. So this is your research. Elaborate a little bit more on this for everybody that's tuned in, Rue.
Now, I think for people to have the best backdrop, if we could just play the 5 minutes clip here
Sure, we can
of
do
what
that.
was going on. And I'd just like to say one thing first. Shout out to French Hill, who Maria's talking to. He's always been an advocate for crypto and standing for crypto for quite a while. So, shout out to Congressman French Hill for continuing to take a stand for us and crypto.
One of the few good guys we've had in the, over the last 5 years, fighting the good fight, for sure. I agree with you there.
All right, guys. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play this again. That's roughly 5 minutes. I reviewed this earlier, and then we'll definitely get some of our panel discussion from either Rue or Rob about this. So thanks so much for being here. Let's play this. 5 minutes. We'll be back here shortly.
Well, I want to thank the president and his top AI crypto advisors, David Sachs, Patrick Witt, for engaging over in the Senate and trying to find a legislative solution for them. We did that last year in the House. We got 78 Democrats to join the Republicans, and we passed the Clarity Act and the Genius Act with substantial margins, bipartisan. And in those bills, we had the two principles. One, that stablecoins would not pay a yield. Why? Because we view it as just a new payment token to be used on a blockchain. It's not meant to be a bank. It's not meant to be something that it's not. And so on a bipartisan basis, that's been in the Genius Act. So the Genius Act does not say that you can pay a yield on a dollar-backed stablecoin, whether you're issued by a bank or issued by a non-bank. So this issue of rewards comes up. And my best advice is that that's handled in the rulemaking by the Treasury, where bank and non-bank issuers of a dollar-backed stablecoin are treated identically when it comes to sales practices, marketing strategies, in terms of does one have an advantage over the other? Because banks certainly have packaged products and provided incentives in their own business. So I think the non-bank dollar-backed stablecoin issuers and their partners and exchanges, they want to have a similar ability to package products, not unlike the banks. I think we can find a solution here.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, and I understand that this impasse centers on whether these digital asset exchanges should be allowed to offer rewards programs and pay money to those who have money on the crypto platforms. But I'm wondering if, companies like Coinbase and others are coming up with new ways to pay those rewards, like in a backdoor way. Because one of the issues that came up was the idea that these companies want to pay rewards if you're in, quote unquote, a membership program, right? I mean, I spoke with Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong about the issue, and here's what he said recently. Watch this.
This stablecoin reward issue is very important, and I think President Trump has showed incredible leadership here, creating a strong crypto agenda. We just got the Genius Act passed into law, which actually did enable stablecoin rewards to happen. The banks had their own concerns, and we reached a good outcome in the Genius Act. And now the banks really are coming and trying to undermine the president's crypto agenda. They're trying to protect their own profit margins, taking money out of the pockets of hardworking average Americans and putting it into the coffers of these big banks that are hitting record profits. And so our view is that there should be a level playing field where banks and crypto companies can lean into stablecoin legislation as an opportunity. And that includes paying rewards to Americans so that they can earn more money on their money.
See, I mean, Congressman, a couple of things here. On the one hand, isn't it in Coinbase and the crypto platforms' best interest to keep delaying this, delay? Because as we're delaying it, they are actually paying rewards. Isn't there a loophole in the Genius Act because of a third-party player that enables them to actually pay a reward right now? So they can delay all they want and still pay rewards, even though what you just said is supposed to be what we're talking about, whereas everybody's on the same playing field, nobody's going to pay rewards. So there's that. And number two is this backdoor idea that, the crypto companies can say, okay, we won't pay rewards, but if you're part of a membership program, you're getting a reward. And then the third thing I want to ask you about is the fact that there's not the same playing rules. I mean, you look at any bank, you go to any bank, and we see very clearly it says FDIC insured. Right? They have deposit insurance. We know a bank is FDIC insured. You don't have that with the crypto platforms, do you?
No. Well, then the dollar-backed stablecoins are simply backed by those FDIC-insured deposits or U.S. Treasuries as their backstop. And that's why I say the whole purpose of this was to create a dollar-backed payment stablecoin as a token to be used in payments on a blockchain. It wasn't per se to create a whole new financial device beyond that, and it to be used by both fintech companies as well as banks. Here's my view, Maria. We need sales practice on a level playing field. And secondly, I think when banks tokenize deposits, some of this issue will go away.
Okay, Congressman, thank you for clearing that
You
up.
bet.
I know there's a lot of nuances here, so I'm glad that we talked about all of that, and we appreciate your work on this, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Maria.
All right, Congressman French Hill on Capitol Hill. We'll be right back.
Okay. So let me turn to this because I was so mad when I heard her say some of the things that she said. No disrespect to her, but no disrespect to Maria, but first of all, she was saying like, okay, well, they're paying the rewards right now, so it's actually going to benefit them to delay clarity so they can continue to pay rewards. First of all, I think that's a little disingenuous because most Americans think that crypto is a scam. So it's not like there's hundreds of thousands of people that have run away from banks and are now using cryptocurrency exchanges. So for her to bring that up as an argument is a moot point. That's not happening. Let me just refer you back to the Coinbase commercial where people were booing at the Super Bowl. I think that's what the majority of Americans think of crypto is as a scam, but us here, we know different, right? So that point from her, I think, is completely moot. The other point was she was saying that, oh, these things aren't FDIC assured. That's not true. I gave you the Uphold account there where it is. It's FDIC insured. They have a USD interest account where it is FDIC assured. And then this whole thing of the back door that she's saying, I don't know where she got that from because that was no one was saying that. She said that. I don't know what she's talking about with any backdoor. I'm sure that these crypto companies have places that they stake money and they get larger staking rewards, which they now pass down smaller ones to us. This is no different than what the bank does, where they take money, they put it places, and then they give us a small interest fee on savings accounts and things like that. It's absolutely no different than what the bank does. But for her to try to put it like the crypto companies are doing something nefarious, that's no different than what the bank does, is ludicrous in my mind.
Well, I gotta say, like this whole situation, this whole conversation that we're having, not I don't mean like here on the channel, I mean just in general, this conversation we're having across the country, to me personally, is one of the most absurd and infuriating things I think I've ever seen. I'm beside myself with the ridiculousness of this conversation. You are literally watching banks in front of you say, we're fighting to not give you interest on your money. And they're just giving you a big old juicy middle finger while they're doing it. And at the same time, in the same breath, saying it's in your best interest, right? Oh, we're worried about, illicit activity and stuff. Cram it with walnuts. No, you're not. You're worried about, like Brian Armstrong said, you're worried about the fact that you're making record-breaking profits, and now this industry has come along and started to compete with you. And the fact that we're even having this conversation as a nation is absurd. We're sitting here talking about banks not wanting to give us yield, crypto exchanges wanting to give us yield, and we're just sitting back and why do we allow this absurdity to take place? And we all just sit back as a society and go, oh, let's just see what happens, right? I guess I'll just keep getting 0.01% on my stuff. Like, what are we talking about?
Well, that's the whole thing that Hoskinson's been talking about, right? Like he's been pointing that out that this whole thing is absurd. But yeah, if they're gonna pull the card of the classic, well, this is uh, this whole thing is bad, and we're gonna pull the card of Silk Road and all that. That ship has so sailed, right? I mean, come on, man. And there's gonna be
The
yeah, go
whole
ahead. Yeah.
we know better than you type of thing, trying to pull the wool over our eyes when, like you said, Rob, like Eric Trump said, they're making record profits. If some of you guys are old enough to remember when we actually used to get 3% on a savings account, flash forward to today. Back in the day when we got 3% on a savings account and things like that, there used to be like 12 tellers. Like there used to be bank workers. Now they are down to maybe 2 tellers because everybody either uses mobile banking or the ATM. Like it's a reason why they're making record profits right now. They've cut down their staff and their workers, and they've given us less interest.
Yeah, we like,
but now they're saying, okay, well, we can't give you any. What? How?
Yeah. This is the biggest insult that you will catch. Okay, banks are not fighting to be able to compete with exchanges to offer the same yield as the exchanges. They're fighting to have the exchanges lower the rate that they're offering to what the bank is offering. So they're not saying, let us compete in terms of yield. They're saying, whoa, 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 bring their yield down to our level so our profit margins stay the same, right? And they're saying in the same breath, well, what happens? We're going to see a bank run. Everyone's going to withdraw their money. So what? Welcome to the world of business. Is that not what the United States of America was built on? The land of opportunity, competitiveness in business? Is that not what the United States is? And banks are standing there saying, whoa, 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 no, you can't compete with us. That's not fair. We have a monopoly on this.
But see, that thing with the bank run, I think, is even a little bit disingenuous too, because the majority of Americans, the majority of anyone other than us crypto investors, think that crypto is a scam. So even if today, which Maria's correct on, they offer rewards right now. You can get the rewards right now from the cryptocurrency exchanges. But are people flocking to them? No, because most people think that crypto is a scam. So the fact that we would allow the cryptocurrency exchanges to keep doing what they're doing, only us early adopters, only the people that can see through the schmuckery of crypto being a scam, those are the only people that are going to get rewards. And I don't remember the official stats, but it's something like 5% or 10% of the world is invested in crypto right now. And I think that count was based off of wallets and people, where a lot of us have multiple wallets. So it's probably even less than 10%.
Well, I think that what you're saying is kind of alludes to something that we all suspect. And that is that we are on the cusp of seeing mass adoption on a national level when it comes to crypto. We're right on the cusp of it. And banks know it because right now, like you just said, people don't trust crypto, right? So you're not going to see the way things are right now. You're not going to see a bank run on the banks where the average person, like your Uncle Joe and, Billy Ray Cyrus or whatever, they're not going to all just start withdrawing their money and put it in some crypto exchange that they don't even know whether they can trust or not, right? But they might once the American government gives it that legal stamp of approval. Once they do get the insurance required, and even that, I understand for the average person, but the FDIC insurance, what's that cover? $200,000,
$250,000.
Like for the average person who sticks around in crypto and makes money, Like, well, okay, so I'm insured for $250,000. What with the rest of my money? So let's not throw that around. Yes, it's important. I'm not saying it's not important. But let's not pretend that that protects all of your capital. If you've got $10 million as a crypto investor sitting in Coinbase and they're FDIC insured, you're still only getting back $250,000 of your $10 million. So what are we talking about here?
Well, we're talking about loopholes. So it's funny you mentioned that. So like my uncle, what he does, and I'm not gonna mention him by name because I don't want nobody look him up. But what I was gonna say is he does a thing where he has multiple bank accounts. So in crypto, right? The gripe is, especially when it comes to TradeFi, is you guys can create multiple wallets and all that. Well, you think they don't do that in traditional finance? My uncle is the living testament of that, right? So he has, like, he'll do a Wells Fargo account, then he'll do, some other bank and so on. Why? Because he wants to get that insurance. It's just different accounts. So again, apply it to crypto. Guys with a bunch of different wallets. So, come on. The debate is absolutely absurd. I hate to throw that term around again, but it is.
It is. It's ridiculous that we've come to a place in our societies that we're even entertaining these conversations. We're even looking at these conversations as some sort of intellectual, debate. Like, it's stupid. Like, what are we talking about? Give me my money. Give me my interest. Like, compete, right?
And
Remember when?
Sorry.
Remember when? I don't know what it's like in the States, but I remember a time growing up when gas stations had commercials, Shell and Petro and stuff like that. I have not seen a commercial for a gas station in probably 2 decades because they stopped competing, right?
That is a good point. It kind of makes you wonder, they stopped competing because they set what? They set a new standard. I know I joke about this all the time, and I challenge anybody here. Have you ever seen a commercial for Chinese food? No, because Chinese food in itself, it's just like it sets a standard. Like, it's going to be good, right? Some people are like, well, it depends. Yeah, but I mean, if it's takeout, for the most part, it should be a standard of, like, for the most part, it's going to be pretty good. It's going to be bomb. Where it's not bomb is if you go down to the Chinese buffet and it's freaking straight trash. It's horrible, right? It's like straight up microwave food, right? That's a different story. That's a different standard.
Well, there's also the thing that way back in the day when J.D. Rockefeller was forced to break up Standard Oil. Even though he was forced to break up Standard Oil, he still owned all those companies. So, are you gonna really make a commercial against yourself?
I'm glad that you brought that up. Because I don't know if it was with you, my friend, or somebody else, or all three of us, but we did talk about, one of us three, I know this for a fact. We made an analogy that when we talk about this stuff like crypto and TradeFi and all this stuff, it's like it does kind of remind you of the old, the Rockefellers and the Carnegies, and again, Standard Oil, especially Standard Oil. So they were ordered by literally Congress and legislative branch, like, you can no longer monopolize this. But now we fast forward, how many times have we used this terminology of data is the new oil, literally? So it's like Web3, you have this thing that exists. So would Trump, like, if we don't get any resolve with this, right? Would Trump basically say, look, these guys are a monopoly. You're going to have to break this up and make compromise. Is this where somebody like Maria says, yeah, the compromise is, it's got to be fair for both banks and us crypto holders. But again, back to what you just said, Rue, because again, it's already more than fair for the banks. All it is greed. They just want to keep getting those gains. And that's what they're used to. What they should be doing is saying, look, this is the new era, whether we like it or not. How do we provide better products moving forward? That's what I don't see.
Well, the interesting part to me too, just like our Standard Oil example, although Rockefeller was forced to break up the company, he actually still owned all the
Oh, I know. I would
resulting
agree. You are right.
companies.
Yeah.
But like people that Eric Trump mentioned, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, well, they're all partners of Ripple. So it's like, you're partnering with Ripple. Are you really upset that they would offer stablecoin yield or not? Well, you're partnered with them. I don't like, that's the part where it's like, to me, it's like, okay, well, are you really trying to make things harder for your partner? Like, I don't, that part to me is like, okay, what are you doing? Thanks. Like, what are you doing?
Now, here's the thing. Before you chime in, Rob, I just want to get this point across because I do want to get your 2 cents. So I've seen this time and time again when we have these discussions. It's good that we're having a panel discussion with our communities and so on. I see this a lot where people, point out like banks are going to this whole next era of kind of like what you saw with Blockbuster, and then like your Amazons and like your Netflix and so on. But here's the difference, guys. The difference is we were dealing with literally like what, 2 platforms? So for me growing up, right, 80s and 90s kid, all there really was your Hollywood Video and Blockbuster. But for the most part, like growing up in Portland, Oregon, there was probably more Hollywood Videos than there were Blockbusters. But for most other people I know that live outside of Portland, Oregon, like it was Blockbuster Video. So again, that's just like literally 2 franchisees. But when we talk about banks, my God, it's a whole other ballgame because you're not dealing with just, 2 main banks. No, you got your JP Morgans, your Bank of Americas, your Wells Fargos, and that's just like retail banking for the most part. Then there's a whole other bigger picture, as we know. You got your central bankers, right? We got the Bank for International Settlements. We got, the European Central Bank. You got the guy who's literally your prime minister now, Carney. My God, I still cannot fathom how this guy is literally, the leader of a country. An ex-central banker is the leader of our neighbors to the north. I still have a hard time wrapping my mind around it. Anyway, my point I'm trying to make is you cannot look at the situation the same because it is not the situation. You don't have just, one Hollywood Video, one Blockbuster, and then a few mom and pop 99-cent video stores, and this is a disruptor. No, you're talking about a system that has been in place for literally as far as one could possibly remember, right? Dating back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. I mean, if we're going to technically mention Roth, what, right? Got to be careful with that. But it's realizing that, look, we are disrupting this. They are going to fight like hell to do whatever it takes to not allow us to take that grip off of that system. So where do we go from here? Well, again, back to the topic of like, is Bretton Woods 3.0 unfolding? And for me, the answer is yes. We can agree to disagree. I understand, Rob, you see it kind of a little bit differently, especially being in Canada and so on. But for me, if we have a big rush going on, it's because, again, look at the current administration. They realize that they got less than 2 years to keep certain people in office, certain parties and so on. You need to capitalize on that now before there's another shift that goes the other way. I hope personally it doesn't go the other way. Again, I'm not trying to make it political and so on, but you can see the sense of urgency there is out there. There is absolutely a geopolitical war that's so much bigger than what we're talking about in regard to just, literally like warfare in the Middle East. It's more than just trade warfare. It's the entire new financial system unwinding before our very eyes. And again, even recently, right? Recently, it's like Medicare and the whole thing with Oracle. I covered that recently on Maximus Crypto. And it's crazy to see what's going on even with that, because the same dates that the war, right? Let's face it, it is war. 5 or 6 days ago happened. The same time all that happened, Oracle just kind of pulled the rug out and just did a whole bunch of stuff with their infrastructure. And literally, when you look into it, you have Medicaid, you have Medicare, and who's doing the infrastructure with all that? It's like Oracle. And Larry Ellison pointed out some of these things. So did Sam Altman. So did his son, I forgot, I'm drawing a blank, the other Ellison kid. Do you find it interesting that that's all at the same time? All this is happening in the Middle East? I don't find it to be a coincidence, personally.
No, there are no coincidences. I agree with you 100%. Quick shout out to Andre Little. I don't know. I think that's Max, your channel.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. Let me give you a heart. And let's see here. Thank you so much for that super chat. It is more than appreciated, Andre. Thank you for that $2 super chat. It does mean a lot. And thank you. Glad to see you here. And yeah, you guys have been blessing us with some of the super chats and so on. You got one on your end from Chris.
That's Ruse, I think.
Oh, thank you, Chris Culp. Hello, gentlemen. Have you done Anita their proofs for Canton and XDC of AVAIL? Would you mind a quick thought? Okay, I think that's maybe analysis that proves.
I do apologize. That was over on Maximus Crypto, but it doesn't matter. We're all
Okay.
three awesome communities, right? So you have done Anita, their proofs for Canton, XDC is a late. Would you mind a quick thought on that? Listen, let's circle back to that. Let me look that up, and we'll do just kind of help with the flow. But I do appreciate the $20 super chat. We will promise to circle back into it. Just give us a second to obviously pull up some information about that.
While you do that, I just kind of wanted to add my 2 cents to the whole bank situation to backtrack a little bit in terms of the yields and stuff. We kind of got way off track on that, but or away from that. But I mean, listen, they're fighting that fight right now. People are forgetting there's another. This is all one big plan, Max, like you were talking about. And there's a part of this that's kind of been put on the back burner right now so that the banks could fight this part of the battle in terms of yield. When this is over, when the yield part is over, the next part that's going to flare up is the attempted destruction of a lot of these exchanges. I mean, obviously the big ones like Coinbase are gonna stick around, but banks are going to be going after these exchanges all together at some point, because the real money, once they get their yield situation under control and they keep their profits there, they're then going to shift gears and go after profit, to take profit from the exchanges, right? To build their bags even bigger, they're going to go after custody. That's where the next battlefield is going to be waged, I think, is that banks are going to start going. You guys remember, they were fighting for that over the last like 2 years, right? It's kind of been put on the back burner. Not many people have been talking about it lately.
Well, we're talking about it, and I'm glad you brought that up. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's just that is going to come back to the forefront again, in my opinion, once this yield situation has kind of been taken over, right? Then they're going to go back to fighting for destroying these exchanges, but saying, let us custody, because they know for a fact that the average retail investor that's not tech savvy, that doesn't know anything about crypto, but is interested after the government gives it that boom stamp of approval, banks are going to say, and they know the retail investor, like your grandparents, for example, or your parents or whomever, guess what? They're going to rather go buy Bitcoin from their bank and let their bank hold it for them, instead of going to make an account, do KYC on some exchange, learn about self-custody. They're not going to want to do any of that stuff, right? They're just going to go down to the Bank of America and say, buy me a Bitcoin and hold it for me.
Well, this is where I think that, where we talk about World Liberty Financial and talk about, your Anchorage Digitals, and recently, especially the whole thing with USAT, and, I recently covered the whole thing of Falcon, right? So Falcon acquired 21 shares recently. Why is that big? Think about, 21 shares, the XRP, ETP. And again, back to what Rob was talking about with the whole concept of custody. All these ones we're talking about, it's a lot of custody services, right? Rui, if you remember it yourself, remember when we covered Fireblocks, right? We found out a lot of integration with Fireblocks and Quant Network. Quant Network literally holds what? The master key for Fireblocks, and Fireblocks is no joke, right? We're talking about 4 trillion. That's nothing to bat an eye at. Yeah, you're spot on with that. I do have some information I do want to pull up about some of this. So to answer a little bit of your question, not fully, right? Because I mean, it was kind of spur of the moment. But basically, the way I look at this is I don't know if you researched, Chris, the whole thing about like CIP 56, that token standard, especially when we talk about like Canton. But basically, it's delivery versus payment. Myself, Rue, numerous times when we talked about delivery versus payment, when we saw, for example, the regulated liability network, these meetings, especially when when Citi hosted the RLN, one of the things that got brought up a lot was moving forward, especially with in the future, like a digital euro, whether you like that or not, 2027, 2028, give or take. They talked about delivery versus payment. So if we get back to this topic about integration with stablecoins, well, what about like USDCX? Okay, that's an example, since we're talking about like obviously like Canton. So that in reality, if you guys aren't aware of this, is a privacy enabled version of Circle, USDC, via Circle's tech. But with Canton, that will be used for the network operations. So again, Canton, as we know, is very privacy focused. It's not going to replace XRP like some people have been pointing out. That's just absolutely nonsense. They haven't done their own research. But from what I gathered, this in itself is a big ecosystem. So for one, there is 220 partners. You guys can look this up. A big shout out to Cypress Domenicore. He does an excellent job of covering Canton, right? So check him out. But nonetheless, in those 220 partners, you even have Goldman Sachs, okay? Well, who's been talking a lot recently within the last couple of years about the XRP and XRPL? Well, an ex-Goldman Sachs guy, right? Raoul Paul, right? But you even have part of these partners. You have Microsoft. You have, obviously, DTCC. Shout out to Rue and Rob. And we've been covering a lot about DTCC. Even Cypress Domenicore has been covering it. BNB Paribas. You have Deloitte. We've been covering a lot about Deloitte. Yeah, for audit. Go ahead.
They just said over on CoinVault.
Yes, absolutely. We'll give that a plug. In fact, before I just mentioned just a few more things of this, but anyway, these are all backed by major investors and has raised $135 million. Now, just real quick, the overlap with XDC, from what I gathered, is you have these networks. Rue and I have used this terminology, and I know sometimes people don't like us using this terminology, but it's just analogy. They call it like the holy trinity of like institutional finance. So you have DTCC, you have R3, Corda, but they complement each other. So my thing is this: these recent integrations, especially with 2026, like with BitGo, it does open the doors for institutional holding. Canton with DTCC collaboration, we cover this numerous times. They tokenize, of course, U.S. treasuries, but more importantly, that's $4 quadrillion in United States dollars annually. And XTC in itself would handle trade finance, and Canton would handle privacy. So they do kind of go together like peas and carrots. And last but not least, again, I guess to answer your super chat question, so why is this significant? Again, it is a shift towards Wall Street on chain. And again, when I even go to XDC, we know, according to the white papers, XDC is technically a fork of Quorum from JP Morgan. Yes, we know that XDC is a fork from Ethereum, but again, you have the overlap to Wall Street. So again, I look at XDC as a way more souped up version of Ethereum, blows it away, and it's what? ISO 222 compliant, where Ethereum is not, okay? And that's not me just doing speculation. Go look into the documents, right? So all these things matter. DTC has tokenization, currently speaking, of $6 trillion in assets. And if you look more into it, there's things like XDC with Contour. That's literally spelled Contour. They did an acquisition that was 280 billion daily for repo transactions and stablecoins. So the compliance is there. I think this is obviously major, but if you want, we can look more into it. But that's the gist I have. I don't know if that kind of helps with the question, but yeah, there is some overlap there. And oh, by the way, XDC, right? We talked about what was it, Rue? We talked recently Anchorage Digital. So it's not the whole thing of what we just talked about with Zebek. Anchorage Digital and XDC. Do you find that to be a coincidence too? And that was recent. That was literally either the beginning of February or late January. So again, the overlap there is profound. But thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. And thank you again for the super chat. It does help the our channels and so on. But thank you, Chris Culp, 2036 for the $20 super chat.
To bring it back to World Liberty Financial, also with Canton, I know that the CEO of Canton, Yuval Roots, he's spoken at World Liberty Financial events. There's a lot of crossover with World Liberty Financial and Canton. Of course, we know there's a lot of crossover with Zebek and World Liberty Financial because Zebek is going to be doing the white label for their payroll for USD1. So, and we know that with the latest partnership with Lattice, that Canton and Zebek are partnered. And Rob, I think, mentioned it earlier that Simon in the latest spaces said, hey, we're going to have more partnership coming up with Canton very, very soon. So.
Yeah, I covered that in a video earlier today. I did dissect some of the spaces that they did covering the super app. And yeah, that is one thing that he really, really emphasized that really flew under the radar, surprisingly, that he said, be on the lookout because there's going to be some more, not just one, he said more announcements about new partnerships with Canton and Zebek. So very, very eager and excited to see what's going to happen there. But I think that's probably a couple of months down the road. What I'm really excited about is XRP Las Vegas, where he also said that there's going to be some big announcements that Zebek is going to be making on stage at XRP Las Vegas. I know what I think it's going to be. Some of it's going to be, but I want to know what you guys think. One of these announcements or multiple announcements, what do you think that they are? I know what I'm going to reserve what I think until after.
Guru?
Well, I think they're going to announce something with the DTCC pretty soon. If you look at what they got going on, one of the guys, JV, he's like a head of marketing for them. He follows the DTCC. And if you think about they deepen a relationship with Canton, Canton does what they do with the DTCC. It just makes sense to have something announced with the DTCC. But of course, with Ripple, maybe we see something more with, maybe more with the DTCC as well, as far as like instant payments and things like that are concerned, as far as like with FedNow and things like that. So I'd be interested in seeing how that works out. But those are two I really think, mainly the DTCC. I think there's a deepening relationship there.
I'm going to hop on that bandwagon too, but if you could bring that up, I guess that was over on my side. I do want to recognize you, Christopher Wolf, 2157. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. He says, do what diddy dum diddy do. All right. Well, thank you so much. And what I was going to point out is, we appreciate you guys, obviously, here in the community, but I would hop on the bandwagon. I don't really consider myself hopping on the bandwagon with it, but come on, man. DTCC, it's in literally everything now, and we just keep seeing more and more of these examples of the cross collaboration. So yeah, I'm gonna lean in. I'm gonna say Rue's right on that. And we literally called it early, all three of us early, when it came to the whole idea of Canton and Zebek. Again, things like Lattice, right? And again, Lattice, you have, they're a neobank. So for me moving forward with all this talks and deliberation or stalling, again, back to Maria, right? Hopefully it doesn't happen. But like, if there was stalling, well, what happens when there is no longer stalling and we finally get clarity? For me, look at the ones that are going to have first movers advantage. You clearly see Zebek, the crossover with Canton, and you have this whole thing in Lattice. In Lattice, technically speaking, neobank. The shift moving forward is disruption, and it's also activating the neobanks. So the neobanks are incentivized to basically have like a Zebek to work with and so on. So for me, again, first movers advantage. If you have plenty of these neobanks, again, quote, new banks or online banks, online only banks. That's the whole new world. I mean, shoot, Rue, you have kids, like, so do you, Rob. I mean, let's face it, Gen Z, they're already all online anyway. They don't really want to go to the physical branch. I don't even want to go to a physical branch. I rarely go to the physical branch unless I absolutely have to anyway. So yes, I would say that projects that are already involved with these neobanks have first movers advantage. And again, when you go back to Zebek or even Canton, right, it seems that way. But again, Zebek kind of takes the cake here because World Liberty Financial, Anchorage Digital, back to the whole thing of, just like you guys just said, custody, right?
It's funny you mention neobanks, because that is another thing that Simon stressed in the spaces, was that they are actually in talks with multiple other neobanks, not just Lattice, that aren't quite ready for launch yet, but will be. And when the time comes, they will be working with Zebek's super app as well. So very, very interesting coincidence that you brought up more neobanks moving forward. So that's going to.
Yeah, that's going to open up so much liquidity, Rob. I mean, my God, and I don't care what project it is. It could be a meme, it could be utility, you name it. If you are enabling liquidity to come in your project, come on. It's not rocket science.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to go with the easy answer for myself and say that, I mean, I think it's fairly obvious. You rewind, let me take you back in time to about 6 months ago, where Simon said on his spaces that they are actually in talks with Ripple about releasing a product. A lot of people gave a lot of hate for that, but it is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. I think that the obvious answer is that they are also going to announce a partnership, collaboration, releasing a product, in Simon's words, with Ripple. At what better place to announce it but at XRP Las Vegas?
I would agree with that. Yes, actually, you know what? You're right. I would agree with that. And knowing that they've already given us all the hints, we've already done all these deep dives, already connected so many things. And literally, guys, in the flyers, right? In the flyers for XRP Vegas, it literally shows Simon. You have Brad Garlinghouse on the left. You think they're just going to mention that for nothing? I mean, there's guys like David Schwartz who literally is on X all the time anyway. All he would have to do is call him out and be like, no, that's actually not going to happen. And, like, these guys talk. They definitely talk. And they're not shy to put other projects on blast. I mean, Charles Hoskinson is, whether you love him or not, he's kind of a troll, and they all will put each other on blast. They'll call each other out, man.
Yeah, I agree. I think this one's UMax.
Oh, thank you again. Christopher, he says, let me see, let's pull it up on the screen. Some assets are sovereign in one sense, but bridges must be accessible in every way and not denied. This must go into clarity, or we can talk, but have not. Yeah, we clearly need that clarity, and I think we'll get there, but that's the whole gripe, right? People want to know how soon that is. Do you guys happen to know, we talked about what, Polymarket before? I'm sure there has to be a bet on Polymarket for clarity, right? I mean, if you got bets for, yeah, I'd be interested. I'd be very interested to see that. And I'm also interested is, remember the guy who called the attack on Venezuela, and how he, what was it, like he put in like 30 or 40 grand and it netted him like over 400 grand.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of interesting if it was like the same guy who called that ends up calling clarity, because if he calls that, I'd be like, there's something going on here. That is insider stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay, so Clarity Act you wanted to look up?
Yeah, on Polymarket. And by the way, thank you again, Christopher Wolf 2157 for your super chat, and thank you to everybody who's donated super chats. It's more than appreciated, especially with all three of our communities. And Rob, just before you pull this up, are we going to make the big announcement in regard to you know what, or not yet?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, right after we look at Polymarket here, we'll do that.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so guys, if you want to pull that up, and you could share your screen afterwards if you can pull it up.
Sure. Great. All right.
So the Clarity Act signed into law by 2026. Yes, there is a 71% chance of that happening this year. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's definitely on here. So
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, I'm willing to bet that's got to be on there. I mean, if they're calling other things, right, Rue? Why wouldn't
Right.
they have that on there? I mean, kind of makes me want to place one, not financial wise, but kind of makes me want to do that. Then again, am I blocked out of that from being American? I can't remember.
Yeah, you might be blocked from that, but there's
Yeah.
Kalshi.
Yeah,
Got it.
because Polymarket is an overseas uh, company, so the U.S. doesn't really have jurisdiction to regulate them, so they can't be used in the U.S. But like Rue said, Kelshi is an American company, so
I might have to get with you later on that one then, because I wouldn't mind doing that. I mean, I'm
this
serious. I
one's,
wouldn't mind doing that.
this one's on my channel. Fridge, shout out to Fridge. Thank you so much, brother. Coming through, supporting the big Rob. He says, I wonder how Dom Kwok feels being an XRP maxi and fudding Zebek. Now Simon is speaking at XRP. It's funny how that works. I don't know who Dom Kwok is, but
I know.
it is funny. It's ironic that there was so much static between the community's efforts, which never really made any sense to me. I held XRP for over 5 years. I still hold XRP. Love the project. Spent the whole court case DCAing into it. And you know what? Like I always say, man, if I've got two amazing projects, especially ISO 200.22 compliant projects that are going to make me a fortune moving forward, I'm not going to bicker about which one's better. I'm going to hold them both. But it is ironic that Zebek is speaking at XRP.
It is ironic. And I find, excuse me, I still find it all silly, right? It's all forms of tribalism. I mean, like Chainlink and Quant, and there's numerous other projects. Was ICP and Jasmy. I mean, where does it end, right? It's all silly. Like, even with Bitcoin, it's like the maxis, like all this, all this other stuff, altcoins, and it's like, come on, are people investors, or they just want to join one club and pound their chest? I mean, we're gamers, right? Rob, it reminds me way back in the day. I'm sure you remember this. Early 2000s. If you were a true gamer, you didn't have an Intel processor. You had literally AMD. And AMD did its thing for a while. Or how about this? I'm sure you remember this. You were looked down upon if you had an ATI Radeon video card, because anybody's true gamer had, NVIDIA. It's just kind of like the same thing. It's silly. I just look at what ones perform.
I think that social media and investing do not go together. That's the biggest problem. If there was no crypto Twitter, I mean, I think things would be a lot better, right? But there's just so much stupidity, misinformation, and maximalism going around on like crypto Twitter and stuff like that. That's where the absurdity comes from. Like you just said, Max, are you here to, feel cool, or are you here to make money at the end of the day? Which one is it? I'm here to make money.
Right, but back to the reference to Dave Bautista. Remember, because you're a former professional wrestler. I mean, he thanked Triple H. He was like, Triple H came up to me one day. He says, "Hey, look, bro." He's just like, "Are you here just to make friends? Or are you here to make some money?" And then Batista totally changed his whole mindset, and his whole career just leapfrogged. I mean, we can apply that to us in retail, right? Anyway,
100%. Big Watch, dude. I see you, buddy. What's going on?
Yeah, good to see Big Watch, one of the OGs in the space. Good to see you, man. Some other ones too. I also saw Stefan Eckel in the house. Sean 06. So many people. If we skipped over some people, it wasn't on purpose. There's just a lot in the comments. Hugo, who loves Monica Long. Who doesn't love Monica Long? Good to see you, Hugo.
Hugo for marry Monica Long.
Right, he's part of all the community. So there's a lot of people. Thank you. We do appreciate you. But Rob, you have the honor of announcing Coin Vault. Take it away.
Yeah, guys, check it out. Listen, Rue, Max, and myself, we've got together and we started a channel where you get exclusive content that is all three of us. Now, we do a lot of deep dive videos. We have a lot of content. We've already recorded deep dive stuff covering Zebek, Jasmy, Canton, Quant, so much other stuff, guys. More longer form content right? I think what's our average video, Max? Probably about 40 minutes.
I mean, lately, right? But we'll have a little bit of balance of, because you got to keep in mind there's 3 of us, right? So even if we had 5 minutes each person, that's a minimum of 15 minutes, right?
But
So,
here's the thing, though, it's quality 40 minutes. That's what matters, right?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
We really do a lot of good deep diving here, especially with Zebek and Canton specifically. And it's just going to get better from there, guys. So make sure, and it's exclusive content you're not going to find on any of our individual channels, right? Now, I'd like to say this doesn't change any of the content that's going to be going on any of our individual channels. This is extra stuff, content you're not going to find anywhere else. We're going to be doing live streams over there and a lot of pre-recorded stuff. So go over there, Coin Vault, subscribe, and because you're in for. We already uploaded our first video today, as you can see. First video is up. Get over there, guys. Max put it into the chat already, and we're gonna take you guys on a ride. Like, you think you've seen research, and you think you've seen a lot of deep dive stuff. You ain't seen nothing yet, baby.
Yeah, and it's nice, guys. I mean, you guys know me. It's a nice break to be able to collaborate with my brothers in this space, Rob and Rue. We're all friends in real life. We're all, like partners, I guess you could say. And we're obviously very enthusiastic about what we cover. So this channel, Coin Vault, gives you kind of like an exclusive perspective on some things. There's some things that Rue can only explain the way he explains. There's some things that I find only in the way I do it. And then there's perspective and summary, right, that Rob provides, and also research. So it's Rue, right? We joke around, we call it the triple threat. We were literally thinking about name on the channel that, but we came up with Coin Vault because it's kind of like, the way you guys look at stuff. We talk about your long-term, hodling. So it's like, these are projects that we feel as though you get into them, you lock them away, and a vault, boom, Coin Vault. So we like the logo, we like what we're doing, we're pretty excited about it. So I'm excited about it, and this is the first time since, not going to mention the guy. You guys know who that guy is. Don't type him in the comments, because he doesn't even need to have his. The only thing that guy needs is his ears to ring, right? But other than that, you don't type in the comments. But this is my first time doing an actual channel collab, and I trust these guys. These guys are my godly brothers in this space. Rob and Rue, love these guys. Would do anything for these guys. Have really bonded well with these guys, and we met. I mean, Rob and I, we went up to Sedona. We went off-roading. You guys saw that on his Patreon a couple months back. I was supposed to get hooked up with some of those videos to put on my channel, but no. But that's okay. It's okay. Shots fired, right? But we did have a great time, and it was a lot of great bonding. Rue came out. We were in front of that, what was it, that little bonfire or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was great bonding and getting to know each other a lot better. And so this has been in the works for a while, guys. Coin Vault. Anyway, check it out. If it's not your thing, hey, that's fine too. But we thought we could introduce it. Something you want to comment in regard to
Smithy,
Coin Vault, Rue? Go ahead, bro.
Sorry. I wanted to address this first real quick. Smithy asked why Jesse is missing from the group. I'm assuming you're talking about KIR Finance, or are you talking about Jesse?
No, he's talking about Jesse. That's from Oro Mine. Jesse of Apex Crypto Insights. So to set the record straight, there is no ill will. There's nothing bad that happened. I've seen some rumors in the space. You guys have seen me in some of the videos where I said stuff like, he's kind of on to, off to greater and better things. That was not me saying like, we had a falling out. It's not like that. You guys will see Jesse again at some point, but I am proud of the man. All right. We should always celebrate the success of people that are in the space. He's a busy man. He's launched Apex Crypto Insights, website, right? It's kind of like a school. It's his own little thing, but he's constantly doing collabs with Paul Barron. I think a minimum of once a month. He was recently on Black Swan Capitalist. I know recently he did a collab with Mr. Man. You know, you guys know him, Spidey. Excellent research from our brother Mr. Man XRP. He's collaborated with Cashew Nate. So he's doing a lot. And my thing is, I encourage that. I just hope that in the future he has some time to do some collabs. So in the community, I have seen you guys' comments. You guys miss Jesse. I miss him too. He is a personal friend. I do talk to him. So maybe his ears are ringing right now. Maybe I give him a holler and say, Jesse, man, you know, believe it or not, we did a live stream and people were pointing out like where you've been and so on. But he is off to, you know, other things. I should say better things. I guess that's a bad term to use, but he's off to other things, and rightfully so. I remember a while back I got an invite to be on CoinDesk. You guys don't even know that. And believe it or not, the guy that invited me, I don't know what happened to him. I think he got canned because on the Telegram it said it got removed, but I have reached out to him saying, hey, look, I would still like to do the interview, and it was supposed to be a collaboration with a professor who specializes, like, he wrote a few books, and he also specializes in blockchain. So I am trying to, if I can't get Coindesk to re-acknowledge the situation, then it is what it is. I will at least reach out to that guy and then maybe have him come on a special Maximus Crypto Live, or maybe I just say, hey, maybe come on Blockchain Buzz or CoinVault or whatever. I don't know. And if it doesn't happen, it is what it is, and we move on. But anyway, long explanation. That's what's going on with Jesse. Always still support Jesse. Jesse's bringing out straight up alpha, fire, and so on. And I'm so proud of Jesse and what he's doing. So God bless Jesse.
Yeah, I know, Max. You didn't mean anything by that. I don't know why you would even get comments on that. Like, I've done live streams with Jesse and Max, and I know Max really appreciates Jesse, and I know Jesse really appreciates Max. I don't know how anyone took that out of context.
I don't think it was taken. I think he was just asking, like, how come Jesse's not
over on? There is people in the comments that have taken it out of context.
Max said that people made comments. That's what I was addressing.
Oh. Yeah, no, we all love Jesse. We love to watch somebody succeed. Absolutely. He's off doing his thing. He's off being successful. And, you know, you got to do that from time to time. And I'm sure you'll come together again with the dynamic duo of Maximus and Jesse. And they'll drop that alpha. They'll give you so many rights, you'll be begging for a left. Trust me.
I do want to mention an announcement real quick. So I don't mind mention this, and I don't think you have anything against this. So a lot of you guys follow Molt Money. He covers a lot of XRP and XLM. I will be doing a collaboration over on Molt's platform. It's going to be myself, Molt Money, Mr. Man, XRP, first time ever with Spidey, and also Spoke. So I'm looking forward to that. We're trying to figure out a date before that. So
shout out to Zebek Heavy Hitter for shouting out Crypto Future. Hell yeah. The Squad. He says, huge shout out, fellas, from Zebek Nation Podcast. Absolutely, guys. Make sure you go sub to them. The guys are doing fantastic work over there, man. Fantastic work.
You guys are more than appreciated. You guys are putting in the heavy lifting. By the way, I love your avatar, right? I used to watch Transformers all the time as a kid, man. All the time.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to those brothers for having me on too. Shout out to Zebek Nation. Really.
Oh, they had you on there?
Yeah.
I gotta unsubscribe then. I mean, don't just let anybody. Don't just let anybody on there.
In reality, let's face it, guys. Shout out to the Rue crew. Rob is, I mean, you know, especially you, Rue. I mean, you guys got some of the best Zebek content out there. But I mean, Rue called something. Rue, I gotta give you your flowers on this one, bro. Like, you called, like, the possibility of Zebek with the overlap with Canton very early, way before most people covered that and so on. You did live shows about that and so on. So yeah, man. And then of course collectively we've been covering it. I think we even have one that's on the lineup, if I'm not mistaken, right, guys? Can you remember this? That's going to be on CoinVault. So interesting.
Yeah, that's why you guys got to make sure you subscribe to CoinVault, guys. Again, you're not going to find the content that we put over there. You're not going to find it anywhere else except for on CoinVault. So, yep. All right, guys. I'm running out of time. Did you guys have any final thoughts? Go around the
Um,
table.
Yeah, I did mention that we had a couple things that we just want to bring up that like literally was reported just like a couple hours ago. I won't make it
Yep.
too long, and I just want to get some of your guys' closing thoughts, and then we're gonna wrap it up. But real quick, before you get, we're not leaving yet, guys. I just want to say thanks to Hugo. Thank you for the whole thing of Max has been bringing it like Tupac Illuminati alter your body with the 12 gauge shot lately with that forbidden obscure. Can't say that too many times out loud because of YouTube. But thank you for that, brother. Yeah, man. Some people have pointed that out. I even saw shout out to Jack Thompson. You know him too, Rue. He pointed out, he's like, we must protect Max. I'm like, I'm good. Whatever happens to me is what will happen because guess what? I'm at peace with God. And if it wasn't for my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, like I would be sunk. And that's just the way I believe on that. I also want to highlight Dr. Denise. You were one of the OGs in our space. You're very appreciated. We also gave a reverent remembrance to Will's Fix. Yes, thank you so much. I totally need to catch up on a lot of those comments that was posted over there in the some people call it like a online eulogy or whatever. I haven't. So you guys know, so I probably didn't put a single heart on any of those. I will in my own time because it's really hard to just jump over there and read all that. Like that's going to be a very private, emotional time. And I think you guys get that. So anyway, thank you for that, Dr. Denise. And we're going to pull this up and we're going to wrap up the show. So again, consider smashing that like. This is going to be the end of the show. We want to share the latest updates with you guys. And what we basically have for you is definitely worth pointing out. Back to the topics at hand of what's going on in the real world. So BSCN, which is at BSC News, reported not that long ago, regulation, banks reject. Yes, I know we shared a lot of good news, but here's what recently happened, literally, I think, during the time of the stream. So banks have rejected White House stablecoin rewards deal install, of course, the Clarity Act. Banks have rejected a compromise proposed by the White House on major U.S. crypto market bill. Reuters has chimed in on this. Officials attempted to broker middle ground. We talked a little bit about this earlier. Between banks and crypto companies, the proposal allows stablecoin rewards in limited cases. Again, limited cases. This is not really what we want to see. And it says such as peer-to-peer transfers between users. However, the plan prohibited incentives on idle stablecoin balances. Now, this part right here, don't be surprised if you see projects like Clearpool blast off for no reason. Why? Literally, if you go to Clearpool right now, on the front page, they have advertised numerous times, put your idle stable coins to work. I'm telling you, that's all it takes for some projects to blast off. Now, some people say, well, that's just a coincidence and so on. No, it's not, because the difference is that's not just a positive catalyst. Literally, people will see this and say, hey, you know what? I saw this announcement. There's a platform that allow me to do that. And then what does that equal, guys? What we talked about earlier when it comes to specifically what? Liquidity. Adding liquidity. Yes. So crypto companies accept the plan. Banks have rejected it, fearing large outflows. Now, before we continue to our panel, the other thing that was just dropped, shout out to Shook Focus, who reposted this.
Shook.
Yes. Scared to watch, scared to look. They shook because there ain't no such things as halfway researchers, right? The U.S. Fed, OCC, and FDIC jointly clarify that tokenized securities should receive the same capital treatment as traditional securities. The ruling applies regardless of whether they are issued on permission or permissionless blockchains. And again, go back to some of my recent research. We have quoted these exact statements almost word for word from the Quant Network and even in their particular documentation. Last but not least, to me, this is the icing on the cake. Shout out to our brother Smoke, who be followed over at SMQKEDQG on X. He points out the Genius Act, the handshake with XRP. People want to see it literally say that. And let's jump into it, because apparently, according to Smoke, the implementation of the Genius Act has a direct impact on the future burn rate. Yes, you read that right. Burn rate and value appreciation on XRP. Documented. It's always documented when it comes to Smoke. Let's pull this up on the other page to make it bigger for you can see it on your phone or your TV, whatever you're watching from. And boom, boil it, mash it, stick it in stew. We see here, specifically speaking from the spearheaded efforts of Senator Bill Hagerty to establish federal oversight for stablecoins, the legislation mandates, reserve requirements, licensing frameworks, and interoperability standards, so we could throw in like some of your quant in there, seeking to integrate stablecoins like Ripple's RLUSD into mainstream finance while mitigating systemic risk. For XRP, this regulatory clarity could amplify its utility since RLUSD transactions on the XRPL already account for over 95% of stablecoin activity on the ledger. Now, that may be enough, right? But it's not. This is also interesting. He brings us more, as you guys would say, alpha and fire. He points out the impact on RLUSD and XRP. While the Genius Act is designed to regulate stablecoins, its implications extend to XRP. Let's shrink this down just a tad to make it easier to pull up on the screen, particularly due to Ripple's USD-backed stablecoin USD, which operates on the XRP ledger. And this part, regulatory compliance could enhance RLUSD's credibility, potentially driving increased institutional adoption. I personally feel as though it will increase RLUSD transactions and XRP, because there's always Jimbo coming out of the woodwork like, it only says Ripple, it doesn't say XRP. Right in your neck, Mr. Elon Musk. Since RLUSD transactions occur on the XRPL, their adoption could lead to heightened demand for what? Doesn't say Ripple, says XRP. Additionally, this is the last part. RLUSD gains traction cross-border payments and remittances. XRP could play a vital role as a bridge currency for liquidity provision. Boom, back to what we shared earlier. Quant's role for programmable liquidity. 2 and 2 always equals 4. And how about this? The act sets a precedent for digital asset classification and oversight. It may offer a clear path for, boom, XRP to be recognized as a utility token. The evidence is there. We're bringing it to you once again, and big up to our brother in space, the one and only Smoke Dog. There you have it.
Boil it, mash it, stick it in some poo, or whatever Max says.
Not poo. No, definitely no poo. No Diddy. Straight up stew. Stew. All right.
Hey, man. Hoover, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. My man's hungry, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Jeez.
Wherever you want to stick, wherever. That is no one's business.
Don't even want to know. But at least we're having some fun with it, right?
Amen. Amen to that. Yeah. So make sure, guys, like I said before, get over to the Coin Vault, subscribe to the channel. You're not going to want to miss. If you like our Thursday live streams here, you're going to absolutely love the Coin Vault channel, guys, because it's all three of us all the time. Check it out.
And we have fun with it too. And isn't that the point? To educate people while having fun? Absolutely.
Exactly.
100.
Yeah. All right. Closing thoughts, Rue.
Another day of 9 points, 20 rebounds from the Ramen crew. Okay, great. Another triple threat live stream in the books.
Hell yeah. We did it. I think we had a good one today. I feel good about it. So what I'm really hoping for in my closing thoughts is, can we get a crash to 55K already? Come on.
Right?
I'm trying to fill my
Please.
bags here, man.
Come on.
Can we get a 2015 ZBEC? Can a brother get a 2015 ZBEC in?
Right?
Right?
I'm telling you, man, Tom Lee ain't going to like all this stuff because he's calling for some crazy prices for Ethereum, right? So, I mean, that guy, he's literally turning into the Jim Cramer of like crypto.
Oh, don't
right?
say that. Don't do him like that, Max.
Don't do him like that. He did himself like that. He did himself like that. Yeah.
Don't do him like that, bro. You're doing him real dirty. Right, exactly.
No, if it happens, it happens. I'm not hey, man, if he ends up being right, then we're awesome.
Can you play it, Rue? Can you play it, Denzel?
I can't. I wish I could. I can't.
It only works from your soundboard, from your Black Rue? Okay.
Yeah, unless you guys know a way I can fix that.
On all you.
Yeah. You motherfuckers. I'm putting cases on all you bitches.
He played himself. That's just right. You can't call for like a $250,000 Bitcoin every month since freaking October, and he's still calling for it every month. Well, I covered what he said at the at the beginning of the month. I think the day before yesterday or something. And he was talking about February being bad, and he goes, "But the thing is, I think March is the month. I think March is the month." I was like, "Didn't he say that about February and January?" Like,
maybe he's secretly Crypto Geek's dad. I don't know if you guys know who Crypto Geek is. He always posts like some crazy things for everything every day. Anyway.
Someone's calling him a Muppet, which I think is hilarious. That's kind of funny, guys. You guys are giving them such grief. He does kind of sound like a Muppet.
Well, he kind of made himself a punching bag for the industry, right? I mean, what do you expect?
But don't Jim Cramer or Max. Oh, man.
I just did. I want all the smoke. Like Rue, before you wrap this up, Rue's like, "Max, you got to be careful about mentioning some of these things on your channel, man, because, I mean, they're going to delete you. I want all the smoke.
We want the smoke.
I'll take all the smoke, baby." Yeah, and guess what? Guess what? You like this? Man. You like this? Huh? You like some of this? Let me tell you something, my friend. Big announcement. Dropping 2 more. Gonna release tomorrow morning.
Boom. 7 different kinds of smoke.
I want all the smoke. I want all the smoke.
There you go, brother.
I can name some terms. I just hope they don't come up in the video. I'm not trying to get anybody censored here.
Right? Shout out to Crypto Crossroads Show. Thanks for being here, brother. Go give him a follow on his channel.
Woo woo.
Absolutely. Bring it, Max, Dave says. All right, guys. So that's it. Another Thursday episode in the books. Jack Stacked and Fanny Packed. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Get over to the Coin Vault, and you can see even more of our triple threat content. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to mess with. Right?
That's right, because we mentioned Chinese food earlier, so I'll leave this with you guys. You listen to the entire outline, type in this key phrase into the comments, and that is, "If you want shrimp, then bring the bucket, because Chow Mein Clan ain't nothing to with." And we out.
Deuces.
Peace.